Welcome to CSBJ Radio. CSBJ Radio is the premier online business talk radio show in the Southeast. CSBJ proactively connects, informs, and engages its listeners in all aspects of small business. Discover the entrepreneur in you with CSBJ Radio. Now, here's your host, Greg Wilson.
Hello and welcome to another edition of CSBJ Radio. I am your host, Greg Wilson, the owner and publisher of Connection Small Business Journal. As we often say, you can find us online at www.connectionssbj.com. Follow us, people. I strongly encourage you to do that. Follow us on Facebook. Literally every aspect of social media you can find Connection Small Business Journal on. Our Facebook page specifically is facebook.com/Connections SBJ. We're going to be posting this podcast today directly on our Facebook page. We're actually broadcasting live right here in the studios. Again, I'm very excited to bring this podcast to the listening audience. For those of you that are tuning into the local Columbus, Georgia area, those few listeners that we have in Birmingham, Alabama, that growing a market, I greatly appreciate you tuning in. Out on the West Coast, as far away as Los Angeles, you know who you are, and I greatly appreciate you tuning in to the CSBJ Radio Show. Today, we do have a full show for you. This show is being brought to you by Supreme Fast Tax service right here in Columbus, Georgia. Go by and see my good friend Chris Granville, 2450 Winton Road. Again, that's 2450 Winton Road in Columbus, Georgia, area code 31906. Their telephone number, if you need to reach them, is 706-507-1040. Again, 706-507-1040. Again, go by, see my good friends there at Supreme Fast Tax. And again, we appreciate them for sponsoring today's show. If you, in the listening audience, are interested in advertising with us or sponsoring a podcast, sponsoring our radio show, give me a call directly. That telephone number is 706-289-7863. Again, our listening audience is growing. It's growing on a weekly basis. We appreciate for you tuning in. And if you want to take your business outside of the Columbus, Georgia market and reach those that are in other markets that may be tuning in to the CSBJ radio show, I strongly encourage you to give us a call. Again, that telephone number, 706-289-7863. Today, we want to just jump right into today's podcast. You know, I was reading an article, and today's podcast, is a direct result of an article that I actually read this morning. And I think that it's fitting for those of us that are in small business, those of us that maybe have a startup idea, those of us that are maybe looking for, venture capitalists, maybe we're looking for investors in our business, and maybe those doors, if you will, are closing in our faces sometimes. Sometimes we take, one step forward and three steps back sometimes in business, and it takes a certain type of person to persevere. It takes a certain type of an individual to push past obstacles, to push past, let down, to push past, doors being closed in your face, push past red tape, push past haters out there, whoever it is or whatever it is that may be standing in your way. It takes a certain individual, that individual has to have a certain level of tenacity on the inside, that keeps them going, when they and only they see a light at the end of that tunnel. But today we want just to open it up a little bit and discuss with you what to do when you hit a wall in your business. Again, today's podcast is a result of an article that I read this morning, and I do want to give credit to this article. What to do when you hit a wall in your business, and right now, for whatever reason, maybe you're in your business, everything is going along fine. You're making money, customers are coming into your door, your marketing plan is working, your social media plan is working. It's a sunny day. It's a sunny day in your business. But what happens when something happens in your business? Maybe your business takes, a plummet for whatever reason. What happens when your business, again, it's chugging along fine. What happens when that business actually, hits the wall and stops for whatever reason? Stops, you feel the brakes, customers are not coming in the door, your marketing plan is not working, You've revamped your social media plan, you've revamped your website, you know what? And it's a cloudy day or a rainy day in your business as opposed to a sunny day. So what in the world do you do? Let's take a look at that. We're not going to pack up and go home. We're not going to close our doors. We're not going to give up on all the hard work, all the money maybe that we've invested in it or someone else has invested in it. What are you going to do? And again, I said earlier, it takes a certain type of individual, but we want just to open it up a little bit. And maybe you're not that type of individual. Maybe these strategies that we're going to share with you, that again are a direct result of an article that we read today. Maybe these strategies will help you, get over that hump, and move forward. Maybe these strategies will help you, push past that red tape or, this brick wall that's standing in front of you today. Maybe these strategies, will help you tear that wall down. So the first thing that we want to do, we want to evaluate what the problem is. Again, evaluate, what the problem is. Is your attitude towards your business? Is that what's going wrong? Are the clients, that you are attracting or not attracting? I mean, what's the reason behind that? Are your products, do they look or feel outdated? If I were to walk into your retail store, does your retail store, appear to be a 2015 retail store? All right. I was giving advice to a small business owner recently, and, we were just giving just some ideas as to what to do. But, your retail store must look like it's up to date, that the, current technology is available in your retail store. Are you still using, an outdated point of sale system? All right. That's another podcast for another day right there. Are you embracing technology in your business? All right. So again, do your products feel outdated? Is your retail store up to date? Do you feel frustrated because you don't know what decision to make? These are some of the things that happens, or some of the things that, as a business owner, when you're going through the process of evaluating, what the problem is, these are some things that you want to look at. Do you feel overwhelmed with the amount of work you have to do? Now, if you're a small business owner, if you're an entrepreneur and you answered yes to that question, I'm concerned about the longevity of your business at this point. For those that are small business owners, it's easy for someone that is not a small business owner to think or feel that a small business owner does not work as hard as they do. They go to work every day. They're punching a clock. They're clocking in, they're clocking out. The great part about the clock in and the clock out part of that is just what I just said, the clock in and the clock out. As a small business owner, rarely do you clock out. Rarely do you clock out, which gives us a perfect segue to the next point here. Again, these are strategies that are going to help you get over, that hump, that business of yours hitting that brick wall. So the next one, again, we just talked about evaluating what the problem is. But the next one is, hey, maybe it's time to actually take some time off. Now, you may say, okay, well, Greg, that's counterproductive. How can I, as a small business owner, take time off? Well, I want to encourage you that even if it's a half a day, even if it's, an hour a day, where you just unplug yourself from the business, maybe go have a cup of coffee. Hey, meet me for coffees, for example. Meet me at a local Starbucks, and by doing that, it gives you perspective on maybe how you can improve some things. Rarely will you be able to focus on improvements if you're actually physically working in the business. Follow what I'm saying? If you're, greeting customers as they walk in the door, and maybe you're helping them with their transaction, or you are, working on that product or service. Rarely will you have an opportunity, to give just a great perspective on how you can improve things if you're actually have your hands in it. So I want to encourage you to take some time away from the business. If it's an hour, a half a day, if you're blessed and, really can afford to get away for a full day where you can just, have a mental dump, if you will, dump out everything that's in your mind. Think about those things that you can do to increase your business, to improve your business, even if it's taking an extended weekend, like on a Friday, close your store, close your office, don't answer emails, take a Saturday and a Sunday just to focus on your business and find out, hey, if my business has hit a brick wall, what in the world is going on? What can I do to improve that business? The third thing that we want to talk about is to conduct a SWOT analysis, SWOT analysis. And for you, for those of you who have tuned into our show previously and have follow our website, follow our magazine, you know that I've talked about, conducting a SWOT analysis. I think that it's very important for every business owner, for every entrepreneur, every startup to consider doing this. And SWOT is literally an acronym. The S means strengths, the W means weaknesses, O is opportunities, and T is for threats. If you haven't done one, I encourage you to do one. Follow us online, go to our website, do a search for, this particular article dealing with SWOT analysis. And I want to encourage you to do so quickly. If you haven't done one, do one quickly. Why? Because it just gives you it gives you a 30,000 foot view, if you will, of those areas of opportunity, for you and your business. So if it's been a while, since you've done one, do one. If you haven't done one, then do one today. At the end of this podcast, begin that process of conducting that analysis. And, I think the perfect time actually to do this analysis is, again, it's not while you're actually physically working in your business. During that time that you're taking away from your business, that hour, that half a day, that extended weekend, I think then would be a great time for you to take some time away, and it gives you it just gives you a different perspective. That's the point that we want to drive home. Taking that time off and sitting down, maybe with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or whatever, and conducting that SWOT analysis, I would encourage you to do so. It just gives you a different perspective and will help you to find out, hey, what are the strengths of your business? What are the weaknesses that I deal with in my business? What are the opportunities that I have in my business? And you know what? What is threatening my business? One of the brick walls that a business can run into, are in the realm of threats, things that threaten your business, where it be competition, where, it could be your marketing plan is now outdated, your business plan is now outdated. These are some threats to your business, and taking that time away, sitting down, conducting this analysis will help you find out how you can improve, and again, improve things with your business and make your business better if, again, it has hit a brick wall. So at this time, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with you after these few messages.
Does the thought of filing your taxes have you stressed? Supreme Fast Tax will take the headache out of doing your taxes. Your taxes will be filed error-free the first time and will include Protection Plus from IRS audits. Supreme Fast Tax prepares federal forms and state taxes for all 50 states. Visit us year-round for individual, joint, or small business taxes. Supreme Fast Tax offers convenient pickup and notary services. Get your free estimate today. Call Supreme Fast Tax, 706-507-1040.
Thank you for tuning in to CSBJ Radio. I, again, am your host, Greg Wilson, the owner and publisher of Connection Small Business. And today we are discussing, as a result of an article that I read today, an article I read this morning, what to do when your business hits a brick wall, what to do, when that day happens. And again, we've talked about this morning, if your business has not hit a brick wall, hey, that's great, but there very well could be a day where your business runs into a lull. There's a lull in customers. There's a lull in your phone ringing, your door opening. There's a lull in the financial or the revenue that your business is bringing in. And what are we going to do when that day happens, or if that day should happen? So earlier, before the commercial break, we discussed, evaluating what the problem is. Taking a detailed look at maybe even at you as the business owner, at your attitude, at your clientele, your products. Are you feeling frustrated or overwhelmed? Are you lacking skills in a particular area? We really didn't cover that a whole lot before the commercial break. But if you are not skilled in a particular area, there's the internet is a plethora. There's a plethora of classes, there are courses online that you can take, articles that you can read, just to make yourself be more knowledgeable in a particular area. And of course, I myself, Connection Small Business Journal, and we are here as a resource for you as well. We want to encourage you. Look at our website, connectionsbj.com. Follow us online, follow us on Twitter, and continue to be connected to people, resources, and information.